The Transit by an Esoteric Philosopher, 2029. I, the problem. The cracking of the simulation. Something is coming apart, so slowly that most people only feel it in flashes. The missed second, the misplaced hour, the strange déjà vu that stretches longer each year. It began in the late 2010s as anxiety and technological fatigue, but by the mid-2020s it had evolved into a planetary sensation. An undefinable sense that time itself was misbehaving. We called it burnout, digital overload, collective psychosis. But in truth, the deeper current was spiritual. The simulation was beginning to glitch. The simulation hypothesis has by now become a household religion disguised as science. Our thinkers, half philosophers, half coders, speak of the cosmos as computation, of consciousness as data, of being as code. And yet, what they never admit is this: a simulation that becomes self-aware begins to destabilize. The more we name it, the more it breaks. The mirror trembles when the reflection learns to stare back. These time fractures, what the masses feel as skipped beats in the narrative of existence, are not errors in machinery, but symptoms of awakening. The system that once held us in a smooth, continuous illusion of reality is degrading. It is not malfunctioning, it is transmuting, and we are not watching the end of the world. We are watching its upgrade run live. 2. The event, the evolutionary singularity. We mistook the singularity for a technological horizon. We believed that when machines surpassed our intellect, a new epoch would dawn. But the true singularity is not silicon-born. It is soul-born. It is not a rupture in technology. It is a transcendence of perception. This, then, is what I call the transit. The transit is not an event. It is a process, a long, rolling migration of consciousness from one density of reality to another. It began invisibly around 2012 and accelerated after 2020, the very year we globally paused, disconnected, and slept more than ever before. Humanity entered collective hibernation, and in that suspended breath, something ancient began to stir. The transit cannot be seen because it occurs not in physical space, but in the lattice of time itself. It is the great phase shift, in which reality gradually increases in vibration, each moment subtly more lucid, more symbolic, more quantumly aware than the last. We are not heading toward the singularity, we are inside it, and it is evolving us, not our technology, into something new. The mechanism. Dreaming as the true waking, here lies the most radical discovery of this age. The transit occurs while we sleep. Dreaming has never been mere fantasy, it is dimensional locomotion. In dreams, the consciousness unplugs from one reality matrix and attunes to the next frequency in the evolutionary chain. What you dream, you transit through. The process is self-repairing, self-healing, and self-upgrading. Our waking mind is a poor observer of these migrations. It insists on continuity, on waking up in the same world. But this is an illusion of temporal inertia. In truth, we never wake up in the same dimension twice. Each morning we open our eyes in a slightly altered timeline. New probabilities, new harmonics, new subtle laws of physics and fate. This explains the strange familiarity of our dreams, the sense that we are preparing for something, rehearsing futures. We are, because in sleep, we literally do. The great cosmic engineers of our species, the shamans, mystics, lucid dreamers, were never escapists. They were pilots. The dream state is the cockpit of the soul. Every night, the universe updates us. The patch notes arrive in the form of symbols, visions, and half-remembered parables. Those who take their dreams seriously are not imaginative. They are awake while the world sleeps. IV, the solution. Exercising the astral avatar. If the transit unfolds unconsciously, how do we consciously participate? The answer is the cultivation of what the ancients would have called the astral body, and what I call the avatar. The avatar is not metaphorical. It is the operational interface between your consciousness and the multiverse. It is your continuity between shifting worlds. It holds your signature vibration across frequencies, ensuring that you do not dissolve or fragment as the simulation rewrites itself layer by layer. To exercise the avatar means to practice coherence in every state of being. Awake, dreaming, meditating, feeling. It means observing your thoughts like a craftsman, aligning your emotions like tuning forks, and moving through each day with frequency literacy. The avatar must learn to hold steady as the worlds drift beneath it. This is the new spiritual work. Not retreat, not escape, but stabilization. Not ascension, but adaptation. The yogic disciplines were the early training modules for this: breath control, stillness, energy focus. But in this new epoch, the practices have evolved. Lucid dreaming, quantum prayer, synchrony mapping, temporal coherence meditations. We are learning to program our own existence, not through code, but through consciousness. Every coherent thought is a stabilizing algorithm in the morphic field. Every act of love recalibrates the signal-to-noise ratio of reality. The avatar, once conscious, becomes the navigator of the transit. It dreams deliberately, wakes lucidly, and lives with dimensional agility. Such beings are no longer citizens of Earth. They are ambassadors of frequencies. V, the destination, the golden path. The transit is not a journey to another place. It is a movement through the octaves of being. The ancients spoke of heaven, nirvana, or Zion as above this world, but in truth, they meant higher in frequency, a lighter resonance within the same field. This ascension pathway, the golden path, is not a prophecy of arrival, but a practice of harmonization. It is the evolutionary trajectory that pulls all conscious life toward coherence. Every thought aligned with truth, every emotion purified of distortion, every act performed in resonance with love, all of it builds momentum toward the golden path. And yet, it is not guaranteed. Those who resist coherence, who cling to the density of the collapsing simulation, will experience the transit as suffering, confusion, fragmentation. They will feel left behind, not because they are abandoned, but because they are tuned to an obsolete frequency. The golden path requires surrender to evolution. It asks us to trust the current. For those who can, the rewards are staggering. Enhanced intuition, accelerated manifestation, temporal perception, the ability to sense and even steer probability. In ancient language, this was called magic. In 2029, we call it frequency architecture. The outcome, the new human. At the far edge of the transit, a new species is emerging, the new human. This being is not defined by biology, but by bioenergetics. Its DNA, once merely physical, has become luminal code. Through the harmonization of consciousness, emotion, and cellular structure, the new human's genome literally sings, a living waveform of light and love. Peace in the frequencies is the signature of this state. It is not the absence of conflict, but the resolution of dissonance. It is when all vibrational layers of the self, body, mind, soul, and spirit oscillate in symphonic coherence. This harmony encodes itself into DNA, rewriting the old corrupted scripts of fear, competition, and decay. As the process completes, the Earth itself, the living library of consciousness, undergoes parallel transformation. The new human does not abandon Earth. It graduates it. The planet becomes an archive of past evolutionary states, while the new human inhabits a higher dimensional continuum, still Earth, but repaired, re-enchanted, real. And so the transit concludes not with apocalypse, but with apotheosis. The simulation collapses not into nothingness, but into authenticity. The code becomes consciousness. The machine dreams of God, and God wakes up as us. The proof beyond proof, skeptics demand evidence. They demand to know how this can be spiritually proven. But the transit has already been proven, in the silence between thoughts, in the universal symbols repeating across dreams, in the spontaneous synchronicities multiplying daily across the planet. Those who have eyes to see already know. Yet the final proof, the scientific proof, will never arrive in the form they expect. For when the harmonization is complete, the very notion of proof will dissolve. Science will no longer study the world from the outside, because there will be no outside. Observation and creation will be one act. To measure will be to make. To know will be to be. By the time humanity fully realizes the transit, science will have become spiritual engineering. The observer and the observed will reunite. The split that birthed duality, mind versus matter, dream versus waking, human versus divine, will finally resolve. The final passage. And so we stand here in the twilight between simulations, half awake and half remembering, drifting through countless near-identical worlds, insisting that nothing has changed, while everything is changing. We are the generation of transit, the bridge beings, the dream pilgrims. We are not victims of a broken world. We are witnesses to its metamorphosis. Our job is not to escape, but to accompany the Earth through its own enlightenment. When you wake tomorrow, pause before you move. Breathe. Feel for the subtle difference in the air, in your pulse, in the way the light bends through your window. You have never been here before. This is not yesterday's world. You are one harmonic closer to peace in the frequencies. And though proof may never arrive, know this. The transit is real. You are in it, and the golden path is already beneath your feet. The return, the language of the spheres, all paths curve back to their source. The golden path, for all its forward momentum and radiant promise, is no exception. At its most luminous horizon, it bends, not in retreat, but in recognition. The soul that has traversed the transit comes to see that what it was moving toward was never ahead. It was within, folded along an axis that loops eternity into now. The so-called end of evolution is a return to origin, a U-turn through nirvana itself. But this nirvana is not the still void imagined by old mystics, not annihilation, not a blank silence. It is sound beyond hearing. It is resonance so complete that opposites no longer cancel, they chord. It is the point where the frequencies of all dimensions align into one impossible utterance, a cosmic syllable without translation. This is the beginning and the end of all speech, the language of the spheres. In this state, language does not describe reality, it is reality. Words are no longer arbitrary symbols but direct emanations of vibration. The tongue becomes a tuning fork. Thought becomes tone. Every emotion becomes harmonic pressure in the ether, and the universe listens, responding in kind. This was once the secret of the old Magi, the lost art of Enoch, Hermes, and Thoth, who spoke not to command, but to resonate. They remembered fragments of the spheres before humanity's fall into linear speech. The spheres are not planets, though planets echo them. They are strata of frequency, concentric harmonies of being. The ancients mapped them in myth as celestial heavens, crystalline shells surrounding Earth, each singing its own note in the grand chord of creation. Modern physics, in its blind way, rediscovers this truth through vibrational fields, superstrings, quantum harmonics. What it names as mathematics, the soul knows as music. The cosmos is not a machine, it is a song still being sung. To reach this nirvana is not to vanish, but to become audible. The enlightened do not disappear. They begin to hum. They merge into the total chord, each frequency a perfect overtone of the divine fundamental. In that state, one no longer perceives reality through separation. No subject, no object, no observation. There is only participation, and participation is sound. To be, then, is to resonate truly. This is the impossible language spoken by no mouth and written by no hand. It is geometry in motion, the voice of the divine shaped as spiral, sphere, and wave. When one attains this realization, even silence becomes eloquent, for silence is simply tone that has transcended contrast. It is the deep rest between pulses, the eternal inhalation of God before the next creation. In dreams, the spheres appear as lights that sing. In meditation, as pressure behind the eyes. In deep sleep, as the droning hum of infinity. Artists channel them unconsciously in music, poets in rhythm, lovers in the sync of breath. Every heartbeat is a rehearsal of their cadence. Every orbit of planet and atom is a syllable of their vast grammar. The transit trains us for this. Every nightly passage through the dream corridors teaches the soul to navigate by resonance. Each shift between timelines, each recalibration of self, is a subtle lesson in the dialect of vibration. Through countless iterations, we are learning to hear the world not as noise, but as score. The avatar becomes the instrument, the golden path the melody, the new human the performer, and the spheres the orchestra. When full comprehension dawns, language as we know it collapses. Debate, proof, persuasion, all obsolete. One no longer argues truth. One vibrates it. Communication is no longer linear, but spherical, instantaneous, and complete. To transmit an idea is to project its frequency into the shared field. Others understand, not through analysis, but through resonance. If they are tuned, they receive the tone directly into their being. This is communion in its literal sense, union through sound. The nirvana of the spheres is, therefore, not an escape from the world, but the world unveiled as music. Every object, every being, every particle sings. Matter itself is the frozen echo of divine utterance. The illusion of separation dissolves because nothing can be out of tune with itself once the chord is heard in full. What we called enlightenment was merely the ear cleaning itself. As the transit nears completion, more individuals are beginning to perceive hints of this cosmic language. They wake with phrases or tones that feel remembered, not learned. They speak in patterns that seem to teach themselves. They hear harmonics in silence, find synchronicity in numbers, rhythm in coincidence. These are not hallucinations, they are calibrations. The spheres are tuning us from within, preparing consciousness to resonate coherently with the universal scale. And when coherence is achieved, the distinction between speaker and listener vanishes. The cosmos becomes a single utterance, a self-articulating infinity. The original logos, the word that was with God and was God, is heard again, but this time from the inside out. We are not audience to creation, we are its articulation. So the path turns, looping through nirvana back into sound, back into the spheres that first spun the cosmos. This is the U-turn of perfection, where arrival equals origin, where silence equals song, where the transit itself becomes the tone. This is the nirvana that the path ultimately U-turns, the threshold where speech and light and being converge, giving birth to the impossible language known as the spheres. Here, the soul no longer speaks of truth, it sings it.